More than 2 years now since Russia invaded Ukraine, and there's still no resolution to this conflict in sight. In fact, we could soon see the fighting intensify. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky announcing today that Germany is stepping up its support for the war-torn country. Germany agreeing to supply a U.S.-made Patriot air defense system and air defense missiles to Ukraine. It comes at a critical time as Kyiv struggles to defend its energy system from Russian bombardment. And as U.S. intelligence finds that China is flooding Russia with equipment to produce missiles, tanks, and other weaponry to use in its war in Ukraine. Biden administration officials say China has supplied 90% of Russia's microelectronics for warfare. Officials say nearly 70% of Russia's $900 million in machine tool imports in the last quarter of 2023 came from China. And here now to talk more about the continued escalation in Ukraine and the need for aid is Andrij Dobriansky. He's the Director of Communications for the Ukrainian Congress Committee of America. Thank you so much for being with us here on Scripps News. So over the past couple of months, foreign leaders from Japan, Britain, Italy, they've all visited Washington to appeal to Republicans to support more aid going to Ukraine. But what do you think it's going to take to really move the needle and get aid passed through Congress?
Like you mentioned, it hasn't been just foreign leaders. It's been everything in the kitchen sink. Just in the last 2 days, leaders from United States Southern Baptist community have sent letters to Speaker Johnson detailing how evangelicals have been persecuted all across the occupied territories that Russia has taken over. Last month, we had the head of Ukraine's Catholic Church over here meeting in several cities, as well as in Washington, pointing out not just Ukrainian Catholics, but Roman Catholics. There exist no Roman Catholic parishes now in any of the area taken over by Russia. This is a very, serious concern that is being brought to light to Speaker Johnson, somebody who maybe previously had no knowledge about what's happening in Ukraine, or perhaps not as much as he does now as in line with the presidency as the Speaker of the House. So we hope that all this information coming to Speaker Johnson has been expressed to us by leadership in the House, finally has moved the needle, and we hope to see a vote on Ukraine in the coming week.
And Ukraine's president, too, campaigning, Volodymyr Zelensky, asking for more military aid, saying Ukraine cannot go on without it. We know Germany is offering some aid, but without U.S. support, is there a turning point here where sending aid will be too late?
Well, that's something that President Zelensky has been warning since 2023, trying to get the message across since that last aid package that came in December of 2023 from the United States. Somehow the United States was able to scramble and find some additional supplies to send over in March, but that's definitely not enough. We're talking about a 5-to-1 disadvantage with artillery shells that Russia holds now. It'll be up to 10-to-1 once all the supplies from the United States run out. And if the United States doesn't sign this package, it's going to be very serious. But I want to stress also that much of this equipment already exists in Europe to be able to be sent over to Ukraine. So all that's needed are these, crossing T's and dotting I's on the financial and budget side. But the United States can get supplies into Ukraine pretty rapidly.
And as you mentioned, House Speaker Mike Johnson, a big part of these conversations now, and he actually visited former President Donald Trump in Florida yesterday at Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate. No doubt they discussed Ukraine, among many other things. What do you see coming out of that meeting in terms of Ukraine? Do you think there will be any movement or more support coming out of that meeting there? And what do you hope is the result of Trump and Speaker Mike Johnson meeting?
Well, this is the first meeting face-to-face that these two men have had since Mike Johnson became Speaker of the House. Technically, as I was watching the press conference, Speaker Johnson has more access to intelligence, more power as a member of the United States government than former President Trump has. So it's really a role reversal for where they are. Ukraine was mentioned once during the press conference, and it was only mentioned in response to a question by former President Trump. He once again reiterated his idea for a loan to Ukraine, which is hogwash. It makes no sense. Anybody who's been to Ukraine or has been involved in this process knows that the United States is basically sending their oldest waste ammunition to Ukraine. Instead of paying for it to be destroyed, we're sending Ukraine the old stuff, and we're putting new stuff into America's armory. America is basically restocking itself for a fraction of the price that it used to have to do, because we're getting the savings on not having to blow up the old artillery. And for some reason, there are people in Congress and, for instance, former President Trump, who thinks that alone, because they imagine that money is being sent to Ukraine, 90% of the money is going to American jobs. This is an American jobs program. And what Ukraine is doing is using the refuse that America wouldn't use anyway, and using that to fight off the second most powerful army in the world.
Ukraine certainly watching that clock tick, waiting for more arms, hoping for more aid. Andrij Dobriansky, thank you so much for your time and insight.